The cargo ship HSS Liberty moved slowly through the dark space between star systems. Captain Jake Morrison sat in his chair on the bridge, watching the stars through the main window. His ship looked old and worn from the outside, paint peeled from the hull in many places. The metal showed scratches and dents from years of travel through space. Jake had been the captain of Liberty for 8 years. He knew every sound the ship made. Every vibration told him something about how his vessel was running. Today, everything felt normal. The engines hummed quietly in the background. The air recycling system made its usual soft whooshing noise. First Officer Lisa Parker walked across the bridge, checking different control panels. She had short brown hair and wore the standard blue uniform of the merchant fleet. Lisa had served with Jake for 4 years. She knew how to keep the ship running smoothly, while the captain made the big decisions. At the communication station, Danny Wright listened to radio chatter from nearby trading posts. He was young, maybe 25 years old, with red hair and freckles. Danny could speak 12 different alien languages. This made him very useful when dealing with other species in the Outer Rim territories. Down in the engine room, Sam Rodriguez worked on the main power core. Sweat dripped from his forehead as he tightened bolts and checked readouts on his screens. Sam had been an engineer for 15 years. He could make almost any machine work, even when it should have broken down long ago. The Liberty's engines were old, but Sam kept them running like new. In the medical bay, Kate Johnson organized her supplies. She was the ship's doctor and took care of the 32 crew members aboard Liberty. Kate had treated everything from broken bones to space sickness. Her medical bay was small but had everything needed to keep the crew healthy during long trips between colonies. The Liberty carried food, medicine, and tools to the outer colonies. These settlements were far from Earth and needed regular supply runs to survive. The work was not exciting, but it was important. Jake felt proud to help keep the colonies alive and growing. None of the crew knew that 3 alien ships had been following them for the past 2 days. The ships belonged to a species called Zephyrians. They looked like large insects with hard shells and multiple arms. The Zephyrians were pirates who attacked weaker vessels and stole their cargo. Commander Vex stood on the bridge of his lead ship. His black eyes studied the human cargo vessel on his main screen. Intelligence reports said human ships were easy targets. They had weak weapons and poor defenses. Vex had attacked many human vessels before and always won quickly. The Zephyrian commander clicked his sharp mandibles together. This was a sound his species made when they felt excited or happy. Today would be another easy victory. The human ship looked old and slow. Vex could see rust on its hull and patches where repairs had been made. Sub-commanders Crix and Zor commanded the other 2 Zephyrian ships. Both were experienced raiders who had attacked hundreds of vessels over the years. They positioned their ships on either side of Liberty, preparing to surround the human vessel. The Zephyrian ships were sleek and fast. Their hulls were dark gray metal that absorbed light, making them hard to see against the blackness of space. Each ship carried plasma cannons and missile launchers. The weapons could punch holes through most ship armor in seconds. On Liberty's bridge, an alarm suddenly started beeping. Lisa Parker looked at her sensor display and saw 3 unknown contacts approaching fast. The contacts had not been there a moment ago, which meant they had been using stealth technology to hide themselves. Danny Wright immediately started scanning radio frequencies, trying to identify the approaching ships. His equipment picked up alien language transmissions. The computer translated the words into English. Danny's face went pale as he read the translations on his screen. Jake Morrison remained calm as he looked at the sensor readings. 3 ships against 1 was not good odds, but Jake had been in dangerous situations before. He pressed a button on his chair that activated the ship's alert system. Red lights began flashing throughout Liberty. The captain's voice echoed through the ship's communication system. He spoke in a steady, calm tone that helped keep his crew from panicking. Jake told everyone to go to their emergency stations and prepare for possible combat. This was not a drill. Lisa Parker began running through the ship's defensive procedures. She activated the energy shields and charged the weapon systems. Her fingers moved quickly across the control panels as she prepared Liberty for battle. Lisa had trained for this moment but hoped it would never come. Sam Rodriguez felt the ship's power system shift as more energy went to the shields and weapons. Down in the engine room, he could see readouts showing increased power demand. Sam began rerouting energy from non-essential systems to give the defensive systems more power to work with. The three Zephyrian ships dropped out of their stealth mode and appeared on Liberty's sensors as bright contacts. They were moving fast and would reach the human ship in less than 5 minutes. Vex opened a communication channel to demand the human vessel surrender. Jake Morrison listened to the alien commander's demands but did not respond. Instead, he gave quiet orders to his crew. The Liberty might look like an easy target, but appearances could be deceiving. Jake had not survived 8 years as a captain by giving up without a fight. The Zephyrian ship spread out into attack formation. Vex expected the humans to surrender or try to run away. Most merchant vessels were not equipped for combat. But something about this situation felt different. The human ship was not trying to escape, and no surrender message had been sent. Danny Wright sent out a distress signal on all emergency frequencies. The message included their location and information about the attacking ships. Help might be too far away to arrive in time, but other ships needed to know about the Zephyrian raiders in this area. Kate Johnson prepared her medical bay for casualties. She set up her surgical equipment and organized trauma supplies. Kate hoped the fighting would end quickly, but she needed to be ready to save lives if the battle went badly. The distance between the ships continued to shrink. In less than 2 minutes, the Zephyrians would be close enough to open fire with their plasma cannons. Jake Morrison gripped the arms of his captain's chair and waited for the attack to begin. The next few minutes would determine if Liberty and her crew survived this encounter. The first plasma bolts lit up the darkness of space like green lightning. Commander Vex had ordered his ships to open fire without any more warnings. The Zephyrian weapons sent streams of superheated energy toward the human cargo ship. Vex expected to see the Liberty's hull melt under the attack. Instead, blue energy shields flared to life around the human vessel. The plasma bolts struck the shields and scattered in different directions. Liberty shook from the impact, but the defensive barriers held strong. Vex stared at his main screen in surprise. His intelligence reports had said human cargo ships had weak defenses. Jake Morrison felt his ship shake as the enemy weapons hit their shields. He looked at Lisa Parker, who was monitoring the defensive systems from her station. Lisa gave him a quick nod to show that the shields were working properly. The Liberty could take much more punishment than the aliens expected. The captain pressed a button on his chair that opened a communication channel to the entire ship. Jake's calm voice reached every crew member aboard Liberty. He told them that the ship was under attack, but their defenses were holding. The crew should remain at their stations and do their jobs. Sam Rodriguez watched power levels on his screens down in the engine room. The shields were using a lot of energy, but the Liberty's power core had plenty of reserve capacity. Sam began rerouting power from the cargo bay lights and other non-essential systems. Every bit of extra energy would help keep the shield strong. The Zephyrian ships continued their attack, firing plasma cannon after plasma cannon at the human vessel. Sub-Commander Crix moved his ship to attack Liberty from a different angle. The insect-like alien was confident that concentrated fire would break through the human shields quickly. Lisa Parker monitored the incoming fire and made quick calculations on her computer. The enemy ships were following predictable attack patterns. This gave her an idea about how to surprise them. Lisa looked at Captain Morrison and asked for permission to activate the ship's hidden systems. Jake Morrison smiled slightly and gave Lisa a single nod. The first officer's fingers danced across her control panel, entering a complex sequence of commands. Hidden panels along Liberty's hull suddenly slid open with mechanical precision. The aliens had made a serious mistake about what kind of ship they were attacking. Commander Vex watched in shock as weapon ports appeared all along the human ship's hull. The Liberty had been disguised to look like a harmless cargo vessel, but it was actually armed with military-grade weapons. Pulse cannons emerged from behind false cargo containers and locked onto the Zephyrian ships. The Liberty's hidden weapons opened fire with devastating effect. Blue energy beams lanced out toward the 3 alien vessels. The human weapons were more advanced than anything Vex had seen on a merchant ship before. His lead ship's shields flickered and sparked as the powerful energy beams struck home. Sub-Commander Zor's ship took a direct hit to its port engine. Explosions rippled along the alien vessel's hull as internal systems failed. The Zephyrian ship began spinning out of control, trailing atmosphere and debris. Zor screamed orders at his crew, trying to regain control of his damaged vessel. Jake Morrison watched the tactical display as his ship's weapons found their targets. The Liberty had been built to look like a normal cargo hauler, but underneath the disguise was a heavily armed Q-ship. These special vessels were designed to lure pirates into attacking what appeared to be easy prey. Danny Wright intercepted enemy communications and ran them through his translation software. The Zephyrians were shouting at each other in panic and confusion. They had expected an easy victory against a defenseless merchant ship. Instead, they found themselves outgunned and taking heavy damage. Kate Johnson felt the ship shake with each weapon discharge. The medical bay's lights flickered as power flowed to the gun systems. Kate checked her equipment and made sure everything was secured. If any crew members were injured, she needed to be ready to help them immediately. The second wave of human weapons fire struck Commander Vex's ship directly in the forward section. His bridge shook violently as control panels exploded in showers of sparks. 2 of his crew members were thrown to the floor by the impact. Vex realized he had made a terrible mistake in attacking this particular human vessel. Lisa Parker coordinated the weapon systems with practiced skill. She had trained on these hidden guns for months, waiting for a chance to use them in actual combat. The targeting computers locked onto the enemy ships automatically, but Lisa made fine adjustments to increase accuracy and effectiveness. Sam Rodriguez monitored the power flow to the weapon systems. The pulse cannons used enormous amounts of energy with each shot, but the Liberty's reactor could handle the load. Sam had secretly upgraded the power core over the past year, giving it much more capacity than standard cargo ships normally carried. The Liberty began moving in ways that should have been impossible for a large cargo vessel. Hidden maneuvering thrusters fired in sequence, making the ship dance between the enemy plasma bolts. Sub-Commander Crix tried to track the human ship with his weapons, but found it surprisingly difficult to hit. "Commander," Vex ordered his remaining ships to concentrate their fire on the human vessel's rear section. Perhaps the engine area would be less well defended than the rest of the ship. The 3 Zephyrian vessels moved into a new formation and began another coordinated attack. The plasma bolts struck Liberty's aft shields and scattered harmlessly into space. Jake Morrison had expected this tactic and positioned his ship to present the strongest shield facing toward the enemy. The Liberty's defensive systems were much more sophisticated than they appeared from the outside. Danny Wright detected more enemy transmissions, this time on different frequencies. The Zephyrians were calling for help from other raider groups in the area. Commander Vex was requesting immediate assistance to deal with the unexpectedly dangerous human ship. Danny reported this information to Captain Morrison right away. Jake Morrison considered the new information carefully. More enemy ships might arrive soon, but the Liberty had already proven it could handle these 3 attackers. The captain decided to press the attack and try to disable the Zephyrian vessels before reinforcements could arrive to help them. The battle continued with both sides exchanging fire across the darkness of space. But the advantage had clearly shifted to the human ship. The Liberty's hidden weapons and advanced defenses were winning the fight against the surprised Zephyrian raiders. Vex began to wonder if his ships would survive this encounter. Liberty spun through space like a dancer, her hull twisting and turning in ways that defied what the Zephyrians thought they knew about human cargo ships. Jake Morrison gripped his chair as the artificial gravity systems worked hard to keep the crew stable during the extreme maneuvers. The ship moved like a fighter craft, not a slow merchant vessel. Sam Rodriguez had spent months installing hidden thruster ports all over the ship's hull. Each thruster was disguised as a maintenance access panel or cargo loading point. When activated together, they gave Liberty incredible maneuverability that no enemy would expect from such a large vessel. Commander Vex watched in disbelief as the human ship avoided his plasma fire with graceful movements. His targeting computers could not keep up with Liberty's unpredictable flight path. The cargo ship seemed to know exactly where each shot would go before his gunners even fired their weapons. Sub-Commander Crix pushed his engines harder, trying to get a better angle of attack on the elusive human vessel. His ship closed the distance rapidly, plasma cannons charging for another barrage. Crix was confident that concentrated fire from close range would finally break through the Liberty's defenses. Lisa Parker saw the enemy ship approaching on her tactical display. She waited until the alien vessel was committed to its attack run, then triggered a sequence of thruster burns that sent Liberty sliding sideways through space. The Zephyrian ship overshot its target and flew directly into the human ship's firing arc. Liberty's pulse cannons spoke again, sending brilliant blue beams of energy toward the exposed Zephyrian vessel. The shots struck Crix's ship along its entire length, overloading the alien shields and punching holes through the armored hull. Secondary explosions rippled across the enemy vessel as internal systems failed. Sub-Commander Crix screamed orders at his crew as his ship began losing atmosphere through multiple hull breaches. Emergency klaxons wailed throughout the Zephyrian vessel. Damage control teams rushed to seal the holes, but the human weapons had caused too much destruction too quickly. Danny Wright listened to the panic in the alien communications. His translation software picked up words like impossible and trap from the Zephyrian transmissions. The enemy crews were beginning to understand that they had attacked something far more dangerous than a simple cargo hauler. Jake Morrison studied the tactical situation on his main screen. One enemy ship was badly damaged and falling behind. The other two were still dangerous, but they were being much more careful now. The aliens had learned to respect Liberty's hidden weapons and defensive capabilities. Kate Johnson monitored crew medical readings from her station in the sickbay. The extreme maneuvers were putting stress on everyone aboard, but the crew was handling it well. Years of training and experience were paying off as Liberty's people worked together smoothly under combat conditions. Commander Vex tried to regroup his remaining ships for another attack, but the human vessel was not giving him time to organize a proper assault. Liberty pursued the damaged Zephyrian ships aggressively, keeping constant pressure on the raiders who had expected an easy victory. The Liberty's weapons fired again, targeting Sub-Commander Zor's already damaged ship. The pulse cannons found their mark, striking the alien vessel's main reactor housing. Brilliant explosions lit up the darkness as the Zephyrian ship's power core went critical, and then died completely. Zor's vessel went dark and began drifting helplessly through space. Emergency power kept life support running, but the ship could no longer maneuver or fight back. The crew was trapped aboard a crippled vessel, completely at the mercy of the human ship they had tried to attack. Lisa Parker coordinated the pursuit of the remaining enemy vessels with calm precision. Her fingers moved across the weapon control panels like a pianist playing a complex song. Each shot was carefully aimed to cause maximum damage while conserving the Liberty's energy reserves for the continuing battle. Sam Rodriguez monitored power levels throughout the ship. The pulse cannons and maneuvering thrusters were using enormous amounts of energy, but the upgraded reactor core was handling the load without problems. All those months of secret modifications were proving their worth in actual combat. Commander Vex found himself in the unfamiliar position of being hunted rather than hunting. The human ship pursued his vessel relentlessly, firing precise shots that forced him to keep dodging and running. His own return fire seemed to have no effect on the Liberty's strong defensive shields. The Zephyrian commander tried every combat tactic he knew. He attempted ambush maneuvers, false retreats, and coordinated attacks with his remaining functional ship. Nothing worked against the human vessel. Liberty anticipated every move and countered with devastating effectiveness. Danny Wright intercepted more alien communications, this time with a very different tone. The Zephyrians were no longer calling for reinforcements to help with an easy target. Instead, they were sending warnings about a dangerous human Q-ship operating in this sector of space. Jake Morrison allowed himself a small smile as he listened to Danny's report. Word about this encounter would spread quickly through the pirate networks. Other raiders would think twice before attacking what appeared to be defenseless human cargo ships in the future. The battle had shifted completely from the Zephyrians' original plan. They had expected to destroy or capture a helpless merchant vessel within minutes of starting their attack. Instead, they found themselves outgunned, outmaneuvered, and losing the fight badly against a disguised warship. Liberty continued her relentless pursuit of the surviving enemy vessels. The human ship's weapons reached out across the darkness, forcing the Zephyrian raiders to dodge desperately or face destruction. What had begun as a planned ambush had become a running battle that the aliens were clearly losing. Kate Johnson prepared for possible boarding actions if any enemy crew members tried to escape in life pods. Her medical bay could serve as a temporary brig if prisoners needed to be held. But so far, the Zephyrian ships were staying together and trying to fight their way out of the trap. Commander Vex realized his situation was hopeless. His force was scattered and damaged, while the human ship seemed as fresh as when the battle began. The Liberty's shield showed no signs of weakening, and her weapons never seemed to run out of energy to fire devastating shots. The Zephyrian commander began to consider options he had never needed before. Surrender was not something his species did easily, but continuing this fight would only result in the destruction of his remaining ships and crews. The humans had proven they were far more dangerous than anyone had expected. Space suddenly filled with new contacts as 6 more Zephyrian ships dropped out of hyperspace around the battle zone. Commander Vex felt a surge of relief wash through his body as reinforcements finally arrived. The distress calls had been answered by other raider groups operating in nearby sectors. The new arrivals were larger ships with heavier weapons than Vex's original attack force. 2 of them were destroyer-class vessels with enough firepower to crack open most merchant ships with a single volley. The other 4 were fast attack craft designed to swarm around larger targets and overwhelm their defenses. Jake Morrison studied his tactical display as the enemy reinforcements took up positions around Liberty. 9 ships against 1 was very bad odds, even for a disguised Q ship. The captain's calm expression never changed, but he began calculating how long his vessel could survive against such overwhelming numbers. Lisa Parker ran quick diagnostics on all ship systems. The pulse cannons were running hot from extended firing, and the shields had taken damage from the prolonged battle. Liberty was still combat effective, but facing 9 enemy ships would push everything to the breaking point and beyond. Commander Vex opened a communication channel to the human ship. His mandibles clicked with satisfaction as he demanded immediate surrender. The odds were now heavily in favor of the Zephyrians. 1 human vessel, no matter how well armed, could not stand against 9 ships working together. Jake Morrison listened to the alien commander's demands, but did not respond immediately. Instead, he pressed a button on his chair that activated a special communication system. The captain spoke quietly into his headset, using codes and frequencies that only certain people would understand. Danny Wright monitored the communication channels as his captain sent messages on encrypted frequencies. The young communications officer recognized the codes from his training, but he had never heard them used in actual combat before. Danny realized that Captain Morrison was calling for help from very special sources. Down in the engine room, Sam Rodriguez prepared for the worst. 9 enemy ships could overwhelm even Liberty's enhanced defenses through sheer weight of fire. Sam began routing power to the most critical systems, making sure life support and shields would keep working as long as possible. The Zephyrian reinforcements spread out into attack formation, surrounding the lone human ship completely. The destroyer-class vessels positioned themselves for maximum firing angles, while the smaller attack craft prepared to swarm in from multiple directions. Commander Vex was confident that this battle would end quickly now. Suddenly, space around the battle zone began to shimmer and distort. Advanced stealth systems disengaged as 4 human ships materialized from what had appeared to be empty vacuum. The new arrivals had been hiding just out of sensor range, invisible to Zephyrian detection equipment. The largest of the new ships was a sleek destroyer painted in the gray colors of the human military. Captain Amy Chen commanded the HSS Defiance, a warship designed specifically for combat operations. Her vessel carried enough firepower to fight multiple enemy ships simultaneously. A second human ship appeared nearby, revealing itself to be another armed merchant vessel like Liberty. Captain Rick Taylor's ship Fairwinds looked like a cargo hauler from the outside, but hidden weapons ports were already opening along her hull. Rick had been part of the same Q-ship program as Jake Morrison. The third vessel to decloak was a military escort ship called HSS Guardian. Captain Steve Martinez commanded this fast attack craft, which specialized in electronic warfare and communications jamming. Guardian immediately began broadcasting interference signals that disrupted Zephyrian coordination. The fourth human ship was smaller but heavily armed. Captain Carol Murphy's vessel Starfire had been modified specifically for hunting pirates and raiders. Her ship carried the most advanced targeting systems in the human fleet, capable of tracking multiple fast-moving targets simultaneously. Commander Vex stared at his tactical display in horror as the situation changed completely. His 9 ships now faced 5 human vessels, including at least 2 military warships with serious combat capabilities. The trap had been turned around, and now his forces were the ones caught in an ambush. Jake Morrison finally responded to the Zephyrian surrender demand. His voice was calm and steady as he spoke over the communication channels. The captain pointed out that the aliens were now outnumbered and outgunned. Perhaps it was time for the Zephyrians to consider surrendering instead. Amy Chen took tactical command of the human formation. Her destroyer was the most powerful ship present, and she had experience coordinating multi-ship operations. Amy began issuing orders that positioned the human vessels for maximum effectiveness against the scattered Zephyrian forces. The alien reinforcements found themselves surrounded by human ships that had appeared from nowhere. Advanced stealth technology had hidden the approaching vessels until they chose to reveal themselves. The Zephyrians had walked into a carefully prepared trap. Danny Wright monitored enemy communications as panic spread through the Zephyrian fleet. The aliens were trying to coordinate a response, but Captain Martinez's jamming systems were making it difficult for them to talk to each other. Confusion and fear replaced the confidence they had felt moments earlier. Rick Taylor's merchant ship moved into position alongside Liberty. The two Q ships had trained together for months, learning to coordinate their hidden weapon systems for maximum effect. Their disguised nature allowed them to get close to enemies before revealing their true capabilities. Kate Johnson received a communication from the medical officers on the other human ships. The doctors were coordinating their efforts in case the battle produced casualties. Having multiple medical facilities available greatly increased the chances of saving injured crew members. Sam Rodriguez felt relief as he saw the power readings from the other human ships. Liberty would no longer have to face overwhelming odds alone. The combined firepower of 5 vessels could handle anything the Zephyrians could throw at them. Captain Carol Murphy began targeting the fastest enemy ships with her advanced systems. Starfire's weapons were designed to disable raiders quickly before they could escape or call for more help. Her ship would prevent any Zephyrians from running away to spread word of this encounter. Commander Vex realized that his entire force was trapped. The humans had been expecting pirate activity in this sector and had positioned overwhelming force to deal with raiders. What he thought was a simple cargo run had been an elaborate setup to catch alien pirates. The balance of power had shifted completely in the humans' favor. 9 Zephyrian ships now faced 5 human vessels with superior technology and coordination. The aliens' numerical advantage had become meaningless against better equipment and tactical preparation. The hunters had truly become the hunted. Captain Amy Chen's voice filled the communication channels as she broadcast on all frequencies. Her words were calm but carried the weight of absolute authority. The human destroyer captain told the Zephyrian vessels they had exactly 60 seconds to power down their weapons and surrender, or face complete destruction. Commander Vex looked at his tactical display with growing despair. The human ships had positioned themselves perfectly to destroy his entire fleet. Each Zephyrian vessel was targeted by multiple human weapon systems. Even his largest destroyers could not survive the concentrated firepower now aimed at them. The 60-second countdown began ticking on screens throughout both fleets. Jake Morrison watched the timer with satisfaction, as he saw several Zephyrian ships already beginning to power down their weapon systems. The aliens were learning that humans took piracy very seriously indeed. Sub-Commander Zor's crippled ship had been drifting powerlessly since earlier in the battle. His vessel was completely helpless with no weapons or engines functioning. Zor used his emergency communicator to contact Commander Vex and urge immediate surrender before the humans decided to finish off his helpless crew. Lisa Parker coordinated, targeting data with the other human ships. The Liberty's weapons remained locked onto the nearest Zephyrian vessels, ready to fire if the aliens chose to continue fighting. Every human ship was prepared to unleash devastating attacks within seconds of receiving the order. Captain Rick Taylor opened a private channel to Jake Morrison. The 2 Q-ship commanders had worked together many times before. Rick complimented Jake on the successful execution of their trap. The bait had worked perfectly to draw out a large group of raiders for capture or destruction. Danny Wright recorded all communications from the battle for later analysis by human intelligence services. The information about Zephyrian raider tactics and ship capabilities would help protect other merchant vessels in the future. Knowledge gained from this encounter would save human lives. With 30 seconds remaining on the countdown, more Zephyrian ships began powering down their weapons. Commander Vex realized that continued resistance would only result in the pointless deaths of his crews. The humans had demonstrated overwhelming superiority in both technology and tactics. Captain Steve Martinez used his electronic warfare systems to jam any attempt by the aliens to send distress Calls to other raider groups. The Zephyrians would not be able to warn their allies about this encounter until after the humans decided what to do with their prisoners. Kate Johnson prepared her medical bay to treat injured Zephyrian crew members if necessary. Human military doctrine required proper care for prisoners of war, even pirates who had attacked civilian vessels. Kate made sure she had medical supplies suitable for treating alien physiology. Sam Rodriguez monitored power levels as the Liberty's weapons remained charged and ready to fire. The ship's reactor core could maintain full combat readiness for hours if needed. Every human vessel in the formation had similar endurance capabilities that would outlast any attempt at prolonged resistance. Captain Carol Murphy's targeting systems tracked the movements of every Zephyrian ship. Her computers calculated firing solutions that would disable enemy vessels without necessarily destroying them. Capturing pirates alive was preferable to killing them, as prisoners could provide valuable intelligence information. With 10 seconds left on the countdown, Commander Vex made his decision. The Zephyrian commander broadcast surrender orders to all ships in his fleet. Weapons powered down across the alien formation as the raiders accepted defeat. The alternative was death for everyone involved. Amy Chen acknowledged the Zephyrian surrender and ordered all human ships to maintain their targeting locks while powering down to standby status. The immediate combat threat was over, but the aliens would remain under guard until human authorities could decide their fate. Jake Morrison felt satisfaction as he watched the enemy fleet comply with surrender demands. The Liberty had successfully completed her mission as bait to draw out raiders. More importantly, his crew had survived a dangerous encounter that could have ended very badly without proper preparation and support. The human ships began taking the surrendered Zephyrian vessels into custody. Boarding parties prepared to secure the alien ships and ensure they could not resume hostilities. The raiders would be transported to human colonial authorities for trial and imprisonment. Danny Wright began broadcasting detailed recordings of the unprovoked attack to human colonial governments and galactic trade organizations. The evidence would be used in diplomatic protests against any government that supported piracy in neutral space sectors. Commander Vex sat in his command chair as human Marines boarded his ship. The Zephyrian commander reflected on the mistakes that had led to this disaster. Intelligence reports about human capabilities had been completely wrong. Cargo ships that looked helpless were actually dangerous warships in disguise. Rick Taylor's merchant vessel began documenting the captured alien ships for intelligence purposes. The Fairwinds carried equipment for analyzing enemy technology and gathering information about raider operations. This data would help human forces prepare for future encounters. Captain Carol Murphy coordinated the prisoner transfer operations. Her ship Starfire had holding facilities designed for captured pirates. The alien crews would be kept under secure guard until they could be handed over to proper legal authorities for processing. Sam Rodriguez ran diagnostics on all Liberty systems after the successful battle. The ship had performed perfectly during combat, proving that months of secret modifications had been worth the effort. The Liberty was ready for another mission whenever command needed her services. Kate Johnson treated minor injuries among both human and alien crew members. The battle had been won with minimal casualties on either side. Professional execution of the trap had prevented the bloodbath that might have resulted from prolonged fighting. Amy Chen prepared her official report on the successful anti-piracy operation. The human destroyer captain would recommend expanding the Q-ship program based on its effectiveness in this encounter. Disguised cargo vessels were proving to be excellent tools for dealing with raiders. As the captured Zephyrian fleet was escorted toward human space, word of the encounter began spreading through both legal and illegal communication networks. Pirates and raiders throughout the sector would learn that attacking human ships was far more dangerous than they had believed. The Liberty resumed her course toward the outer colonies, her cargo of supplies still intact and ready for delivery. The successful mission had not only protected human merchant shipping but had also sent a clear message to anyone who might threaten civilian vessels in the future. Jake Morrison looked out at the stars through his bridge windows as normal operations resumed. The galaxy was a dangerous place, but humans had proven once again that they could protect themselves and their interests against any threat. The next group of pirates would think twice before attacking what appeared to be a helpless human cargo ship.